I'm just packing the bag for a wedding, so I thought I'd do the 2018 just to show you what I'm using this year at weddings. I've just gone through the winter and used pretty much the same kit, but as it goes towards the summer, spring, summer, autumn, I've introduced well, a few changes from last year. If you're looking at my other videos, I'm actually going to get an M50, which is a tiny little body, which I'm going to slot in the bag, and that's going to be used for the ceremonies. So that's coming hopefully in a few weeks' time, so I'll do a review on that. But I thought I'd just go through everything I'm using. So, did I buy the 5D Mark IV? No, I didn't. So I stuck with the 5D Mark I. Still happy with that. And I was so happy with it, I bought another body. So the 30D from last year's gone, and I bought another 5D Mark I, very good condition. I'm going to do another video so that a lot of people are asking me about choosing, finding these cameras with the mirror that's been reinforced or replacement mirror. What I've found is they're getting harder to find. I think, you know, professionals sent them in to be changed. I sent 2 bodies in and got them done. But unfortunately, it's very hard to find them now. So I've had to buy one that hasn't been done. So this body hasn't had the mirror reinforcement, so I'm still keeping the reinforced mirror body as the main body. And I'll just show you the lenses I'm going to be using this year. So we're doing 2 5D Mark Is. Doing the 70-200 f4. As I say, you know, if you've watched last year's, you'll know that what I think about that lens. So I've kept that. The 24-105, still the same as last year. Brilliant lens. You'll see I've done some reviews on this lens, quite a few. So have a look at the others. But the one I want to talk about that I'm introducing, I've just put out the 17-40 video the other day. And the reason for buying this lens is mainly for landscape photography, because I'm going back into the landscape now. I'm still doing weddings, obviously, but I just fancy doing something a bit different. So I'm going back and doing black and white landscapes. So I bought the 17-40, but I'm also going to use this at weddings because the 24-105 can get a bit soft on the edges and distorted and purple fringing at the wider end, in other words 24mm, whereas this lens is pretty much spot on. So again, the 70-40 review I did the other day, just take a look at that one. I'll do some links at the end so that you can go to the lens reviews. But yeah, very good little lens. I've kept the sun pack flash on, so that's gone pretty good this year. I know there's been a lot of comments, you know, there's a 4000 now, thanks for that comment about the 4000, so I've looked for that one. But I've had no trouble with these, really. I mean, to be honest with you, probably the firing rate at a wedding, if you think, it's probably about 1%, less than that, where you're getting misfires. So if it's working, keep it. So I've kept the sun packs on, so they've stayed in the bag. One thing I have changed this year, and you know, this is quite a big change really, is what I'm doing with the bounce card. I will do another video about bounce cards. There's lots of different makes. To be honest with you, I make my own, and I'm using this to bounce light forwards, and as I say, I'll do a separate video on that so that you can see what I'm doing with it now. This is a very simple setup. The reason I like it is the fact that you can just make your own and you're well away. You don't have to buy anything. If you lose it, you lose it. So just put that in the bag. So you've got your 2 flashes. I've kept the sun packs. They've been very good. So we'll keep those. The 70-200 obviously stays in there, if I can get it in. and the bounce card just goes around it. Batteries, I've kept with the old batteries, but to be honest with you, these have pretty much had their day now, so I should think I'm going to buy probably 2 more batteries and get rid of these 4. But I just keep those in because when you're going forward to the evening, you just never know. And because I'm using the iFi card, it does drain the battery more. So I've kept 4 batteries for now. Cleaning, yeah, so I'm still using these. If I could find some links, but they're wet cloths, they're good. So I use them for cleaning lenses and my glasses. And I hate wearing glasses, but at the end of the day, when you're doing weddings, you get smudged up. You can clean them quickly and then just throw it in the nearest bin. I'll be honest, I would not do weddings without these. I find them very hard to find. If you've got any comments as to where I can get them from, please do that below because they are brilliant things. I didn't show you an air blower last time. I know this is an obvious thing. You'll be thinking, why am I showing you an air blower? Because we all know what they are. But if you've not seen one before, for cleaning the sensor, just a tiny little puff straight on to the sensor, not this, but just a tiny, can clean the sensor really well. So I'm also using the visible dust sensor loop. So I check my sensors before I go out to the wedding. And this piece of kit has been absolutely brilliant. I didn't show this last year, but being able to switch on the LEDs and then focusing on your sensor and see exactly what's on it has been a great help. So I do recommend you get one of these. If you do get sensor dust, just remember it's only going to really show after f8, so if you're at f11, f16, a lot of landscape photographers obviously you see every bit of dust on the sensor. If you stick to f4, 5.6, you're not going to see every speck of dust, so that's a big tip. You know, don't worry about it too much. I mean, as a wedding photographer, we can't worry about it because we'd never be able to go to the weddings because we're changing these lenses all the time. Flash meters stay in. I'm actually using this more and more. I don't know if it's because I'm getting older and I just literally don't want to think now. So when I'm using flash, I can set up very quickly. So this is a very old one, isn't, you know, and it's not in 1/3 of a stop increments. They've got the new one. I'll do links in the description below to all this, all, you know, equivalent equipment. They don't actually make this one anymore, I don't think. You can get it second hand, but I'll put some links into all the equipment and also on my website, richardbarleyphotography.com. I'm going to do an equipment page. There's an equipment page up there now. I'll put a link to that, and you've got links to Amazon so you can have a look at what I'm using. And the final one from last year was the 30D. Let me move this. Certainly not as neat as last year. So the 30D won't be staying. A big change really, because that's been my backup body. Because I've got the new 5D body, I've gone back to 2 5Ds basically. I'm not going to be keeping the 30D in the wedding kit. It's still staying. I'm going to use it for time lapse and my son can use it. So the 30D is being fine as a backup body. It's still a good camera. I've got the 50mm 1.8 on it still. I have used it through the winter a few times. The 50mm 1.8 STM lens is still good. I mean, you know, I'm not convinced that the STM lens is the way to go, to be honest, if you're a stills photographer. Because of the speed of the autofocus. I know Canon have just brought out a new motor, well, a new ultrasonic, which is STM/USM, They put it in the 18 to 135, and I've picked that up, and that is very fast. But you know, you have to wonder really with this STM whether they're thinking obviously more of videographers, but stills photographers love the 50mm 1.8. But I've got nothing against it. It's still hardly ever used. It's one of those lenses that, you know, the majority of young wedding photographers seem to use the 50mm 1.2, whereas I personally tend to use all the zoom lenses. I'm used to being stood where you take one step back and you tread on someone's foot, and zoom lenses are very flexible. You don't have to change lenses all the time. So let me just get rid of the 30D and the 50mm 1.8. It's debatable whether that's actually going to stay in at all. That's pretty much it. Obviously I keep a business card in there. The odd person might be interested in booking me, so when I go to weddings I keep a business card. The final thing that hasn't changed is the iFi setup. So I'm still using the iPad and I'm using an iFi card. It still works fine, so that is staying in there. So that's pretty much it for this year. I know it's not a lot of change from last year. If you watch the 2017 video, but in some ways that's what I'm trying to show people, is the fact, one little thing, I've still kept the extension tube. That's very rarely used, but when you do need it, it's very useful for doing rings and getting closer. So I've still got the one extension tube. But I'm just trying to show you that I think people assume that professional photographers change their equipment every year and we keep updating it. Well, if you kept updating it, to be honest, you wouldn't earn a living. So I'm personally a big believer in keeping the same sort of equipment so that you can use it with your eyes closed. Literally, you could give me a 5D with a blindfold on. It's not a challenge, by the way, I won't be doing that, but and I'll be able to use it. So it's the reaction, being able to react, being able to use the same equipment. These bodies are very well made. You'll see I've done some Sony videos where I hinted I was getting a Sony A7 Mark III, not an A7R. It's just about coming out now. Many reasons for not actually swapping over the bodies and having a go with the Sony, but the main one, above all else, if you look at the Sony, is the fact you've got no room between the edge of your finger and the lens. So go and pick them up before you buy these cameras, because they haven't thought about that. They're not thinking about us being stood for 1.5 hours in the evening with the speeches, and we're holding on to these cameras, and we don't really want our finger worn away by the lens nearly hitting our fingers. So the distance between the lens and the grip is very important, and Sony have dropped right clanger in my opinion. If you look at a lot of the other videos, it won't be even mentioned about the A7. They're so busy on specs that they're not really that worried about using the cameras, but that's why I stick with Canon. You'll see that when you go through the Nikon and Canon thing, there's not a big difference between the Nikon and Canon if you're looking at it, really, no matter what they say. But there is a big difference between the Nikon and Canon and the Sony. The Sony system I like, but to be honest with you, I don't really understand why the bodies, they're not small. They're not small. By the time you add on the massive lenses, and the 24 to 70 is a massive lens, you've got a system that's not weighted correctly. So sticking with Canon this year, I should think that's it for me now. I'm at the age where, you know, it's Canon forever, I should think. And I know somebody commented that I'm biased towards Canon, and I wrote I'm not biased. Well, I am biased because Canon, in my opinion, is still the best equipment. I don't get paid to actually tell you that. Canon don't send me anything, have nothing to do with what I'm doing, as they don't for many YouTubers. They're a big company, why would they have anything to do with us? But their equipment is very good, so that's why we keep using it. year after year. You can drop that body. I dropped that one the other day, pick it back up again, carry on. So for a professional photographer, it's very good equipment. I thought I'd just click over and just show you that on the website, on the equipment page, I should be able to show you this. You've got listings in there. Go and take a look. I've got the Amazon links. It's just to help you, really. There's last year's video on there, 2017-18, but this one's the new video. So go and take a look at the website. I do one-to-one tuition if you're in the UK, or if you're coming over. Come over and see us in Malvern. You know, we live in a very nice area, and have a day out in the Malverns. It's very nice. So I've got that website, which is richardbarleyphotography.com. And the other website, my wedding site, is richardbarley.co.uk. So go and take a look at the images. You can pretty much say 95% of these images I've used the equipment that I've shown you today. So it'll just give you an idea. If you're thinking about buying the 2.8 lenses, no problem with that. The main thing people ask me when I talk to them in camera shops, they can't believe why I use the f4 lenses. But as a kit, if you look at the weight of all this equipment, it's just right. It's the right weight. So go and have a look at that. If you want to subscribe, that'd be great. If you've got any questions, comment below, and I'll start making more videos. Well, I am making more videos now. It's just a matter of having time. I've got a month. I can do some more videos now. So please ask, and I'll try to make more. Okay, thanks a lot.